Hello everyone, I'm Pierrette and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make a gluten-free date bread. This is a great snack because it's only sweetened with dates, no additional sugar, and it's only made with almond flour, which means no gluten. So to get started, we are going to put 4 eggs into our blender. And then we also have 10 dates, and I used the ones that are pitted Medjool dates, and I just sliced them up. And this is one really good way to make sure that they don't have pits in them, because if you're chopping them up, you'll run across the pits, and you definitely want to do that before you put them in the blender. And the other good thing about it is that your blender's not going to have to work quite as hard because they are in a little smaller chunks. So our goal is to puree these enough that there are still a few pieces of date in it, but not massive chunks. Unless you like that, then you can do it any way you want. You don't even have to blend them. But I like the texture that you get a little bit more when you have some small chunks and a lot of pureed flavor throughout the batter. So I'm gonna start the blender. It is a little noisy, so hold on for a sec. Well, that was quick and easy. The next step is to pour this egg and date mixture into our bowl. And it did change the viscosity quite a bit also. The eggs with the dates in them are much thicker and creamier. So now that that's mixed, I've scraped down the sides just a little bit. We're going to add just a little bit of vanilla, about a teaspoon, and a half of a pound or 1 stick of softened butter. And the reason why I use it softened is because it mixes into the batter better. So that's 1 stick of softened butter, leaving the other half still there. Put our lid back on and give it another mix. Again, quick and easy. So right now we have 10 dates, 4 eggs, a little bit of vanilla, and 1 stick of butter. Believe it or not, we're almost done. This is so simple. So into our egg and date and vanilla and butter mixture, I'm adding 1 cup of almond flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm just gonna stir that a little bit, mix that into the batter. It's getting nice and thick. So you can see that it's the chunks of the almond flour in there changed the texture a bit. And then I'm going to fold in 1 cup of walnuts. And I don't use the wire whisk for this part because if you do, all the nuts will get stuck in the wire whisk and that gets a little bit difficult to separate them. So just mixing all that in, I'm going to take a prepared pan, baking pan, and I like the glass ones personally, but the metal ones work just as well. Sort of a personal preference thing. I always spray the bottom extra well. The side, when you spray the oil, the side will collapse down to the bottom a little bit, but that's fine. Because you want the sides, you want the bread to be able to climb up the sides so that it raises. But on the bottom, when you flip it over, you want it to release cleanly so that you can get your bread out of the loaf pan without too much difficulty or loss of any chunks. So we're just gonna scoop that in there. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell this. The date smell is just delicious. And those big chunks of walnuts, oh, it's gonna be so good. So I'm just gonna spread this around. Now this bread raises a little bit, but not a ton because it doesn't have gluten in it. And gluten is sort of the building block that allows pastries to rise naturally. It will still be a fluffy and edible bread, but it's not going to be super, super light, airy, cakey, flaky, like what you might expect with a dough that has gluten in it. So I'm just going to put this in the top rack of the oven. So if you'll follow me. So we've preheated our oven to 350. We're gonna pop the bread inside on the top shelf, and we're gonna let that go for about 30 minutes, and then we'll check back and see how it's going at that point. So I took the bread out of the oven at about 35 minutes, and it's been cooling so that it's almost room temperature, that I can touch the pan easily. I'm just gonna go around the edges with a butter knife. Sometimes when it doesn't want to release, you can take the knife and slide down the edges a little bit and sort of release, pull, not just the sides, but it sort of lifts the bottom a little bit too, and that does help to get the bread out. So when you're all done, you can kind of see the loaf moving back and forth a little bit. So now it should release no problem. And I'm just gonna take it, put it on a beautiful tray, and slice it up. Hopefully it won't be too obvious that it broke a little bit. I probably could have used a large spatula to put it on there, but that's our finished date nut bread. And I hope you try it, and I'd appreciate it if you guys like this video and subscribe. We always appreciate your support, and please share with your friends. Thanks so much. Take care.